What's up, YouTube, and welcome to another Pocky Tavern Talk. This time we're going to talk about our latest patch, the 24.0 patch. It had a few changes that have drastically shifted the meta. There's been a couple hotfix patches that have shifted the meta that we may have expected a little bit, and it broke one of the heroes to one of the most insane levels that we've ever seen. So let's get into it really quick. In this patch, if we go down to the Battlegrounds section, we've got the Battlegrounds updates with some new emotes. These are great to express your feelings on the current state of the game, which has a few minor issues. One of them being this new hero, Ysera Togwaggle. Now, Ysera Togwaggle, without going into too many details, gets a ton of value from basically getting so much free econ every time you hero power. Econ is good, free stuff is good. That's just the moral of the story there. When this hero came out, no shortage of high-level players could have told you and even did predict that this hero would be broken, myself included, and it is. That's just what it is. More notably, though, we have the minion updates. So Red Whelp was shifted. It seems like a very minor buff. If you watched our patch review with Mr. Incredible and Jeev, two of the top 3 players on NA, we had a spirited discussion on Red Whelp. The conclusion was that the change was very strong, if not uninspired. And what we have seen is that the change is indeed very strong, because what happened is it made Red Whelp a pickable unit on turn 1 and turn 2 because it's a dragon now, which is very relevant, and because it's a very strong tempo pickup, able to tie or win almost every combat in those early turns on tier 1. So it's become it went from one of the weakest units to one of the strongest units. If we look here at the HS replay minion tier, this is turn 1. Red Whelp has the strongest combat win rate and an insane play impact here. The only card higher than it is Evolving Chromawing, which as a 1/1 has obviously an extremely low combat win rate. But this play impact basically says that if you have an Evolving Chromawing on your ward on turn 1, you are getting almost a full placement higher. Okay? Almost a full placement higher. Let me repeat that. If you just hit Chromawing on turn 1, you're almost getting a full placement higher. That is insane. It's a 1-drop. Red Whelp is giving you a half placement. And this is Red Whelp. We made a video on it. This was the worst 1-drop in the game prior to this change. Period. There was not a worse 1-drop in the game prior to this patch. So if we go back to our patch notes, we have Chromawing being changed, right? And this is the big issue, is that Chromawing's been reworked and returned to the minion pool. It is now a 1/1, and rather than doubling the attack, it buffs itself by having more dragons on your board, which is a really cool concept. That is the concept that dragons should be built around. The problem is that with Red Whelp being much stronger, and just the number of buffs and the number of reasons you have to stay on tier 1 and how strong this gets for free, again, reminder, free is really strong. You don't have to invest any resources, and it is very, very remarkably easy, especially for certain heroes, to buff these Chromawings up to relevant late game units early in the game. On turn 6, 7, and 8, you can find yourself in even turn 4 and 5, really, depending on the setup. You can find yourself in sort of unlosable combats very early if you're able to collect a number of Chromawings and Red Whelps, and then just power level your way to tier 6. From there, you can choose any multitude of directions, but it's enabled by Chromawing in the free scaling it provides. So that's the big thing here. Chromawing is absolutely out of its mind busted because free scaling needs to be very carefully held in check. We saw this issue with Greasebot that a few days after this patch was hotfixed out of the game because it provided too much free scaling and it was too strong. We also did a video on that. The links to the video on Red Whelp being the worst hero in the game and Greasebot being the best, or Red Whelp being the worst minion in the game and Greasebot being the best minion in the game will be in the description below. So free scaling is bad. It's too easy to force this. Okay. To prove our point and make a final thing, let us talk about one of the most insanely broken heroes to ever exist in the game in the current state of things. Mr. Incredible, who we talked about, we did the patch review with, did a little bit of research onto this, and I'll just pull up HS Replay so you can see this yourself. This is just the general top 1%, so 10k plus, you know, high rating, just about slightly under leaderboards. It's very strong. This is an extreme position, right? The difference is 1.4 in terms of placement. It's at a 90% pick rate, only topped by Togwaggle, which we just discussed is broken. And this is just in any lobby. If you go to a specific lobby that in theory is extremely strong, you know, no Murlocs, no Pirates, no Quillbar, no Naga, to enabling some of the strongest builds in the game that can actually outscale dragons. Mechs aren't super great against dragons because you can Red Whelp will take out some of those shields and it can cause issues. Also, they don't have Greasebot right now, so there is that. If we go here, this average placement is under 2. You are expected to get a first or second out of the gate if you just choose Ysera in this lobby. What that means is that the agency that players have in these games is extremely low. Because one of the top 2 placements, in theory, will be taken up by Ysera on average. That is crazy. Anytime you see a 1 on these average placements, well, it's cause for concern. We've seen stuff that is close to a top 2 average before. Granted, that was in different metas with different, you know, not as expanded of minion type sets, and, you know, so not tailored to this, but this is one of the most insane numbers I've ever seen in this game. Having followed these stats from the beginning of the game, I think only the original unnerfed Hook Tusk and you know, the peak Millhouse numbers even approached this kind of insanity in terms of how dominant they were. Eudora was pretty strong, but still had cases to miss. Most heroes that are very strong have situations where they can miss. Ysera isn't even getting 8th in this lobby 1% of the time. They're not getting 7th. Like, it's like not even 1% of the time. Like, imagine if the game said, hey, on average you can get 1st or 2nd and you will not get 7th or 8th. That is broken. That is broken for you because it it doesn't really matter too much what you do as long as you follow the basic game plan of buying 1-drop dragons, specifically Chromawing, and then leveling. That's the game plan. It's not a hard to achieve game plan. It doesn't require a lot of thought, or it's yeah. And for every other player, it's making the game less fun and less interesting, because what kind of impact are you going to have? Because they have a straightforward game plan. There's not really counterplay to it. The lobby, the minion types say, hey, you don't have a lot of options, and just do your best to get, maybe you can grab that second. Maybe you can grab the first. Maybe you can be the high roller that grabs the first from the Ysera. But probably you're playing for a bottom 6 position a lot of times, especially if you're not getting a good hero that can compete. And no one queues up a game saying, I'm trying to play for bottom 6. So that's why this is an issue. And the big thing is Chromawing. It's free stats. And I mean, the dev team, I think the big thing is they need to recognize that anytime they're adding free, non-resource dependent scaling to the game, they really need to make sure that it's being held in check by itself, not anything else, right? Like, you don't want to make players reliant on hitting something to counter it. You want to make it so that the scaling doesn't get out of hand by itself. We've seen that issue with Greasebot, which was removed slightly after this patch, and we're seeing it exactly in Chromawing, where the resources that you invest, you're leveling, but you want to level anyways, and you're strong enough. Like, it's not really an investment of resources. As for how to fix Chromawing, I think Red Whelp could potentially be reworked to be potentially more interesting. It does play into having more dragons on board, but the strength of Red Whelp being strong definitely does play into the dominance. It is not the sole reason Chromawing is extremely strong. Even with other dragons on tier 1, that would be the case. But Chromawing, I'm not sure. I mean, it's a 1/1. It's gaining plus 1/1. I guess the design is just maybe not feasible. It is interesting. I like that it's encouraging you to pick up a strong dragon or that is strong later in the game. But yeah, it's a bit too much. It encourages you to have dragons on your board, which should be the dynamic of dragons. But yeah, when this came out, I was excited about it. I thought it was a really cool change, but recognizing the strength, certainly realizing it would be this bad, I didn't see that coming. But that was sort of just due to underrating the Red Whelp change and how strong that would make being able to just collect dragons on tier 1. And yeah, it's sort of been defining our meta for the last few weeks, and that's why this video exists. I hope you guys enjoyed this quick discussion on Chromawing, Ysera, and some of the issues in the current metagame. I enjoyed doing these little talking videos, and I hope it was fast enough and quick enough for you to enjoy. If you did enjoy and you want more content like this, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. We will be back shortly, and we're gonna have a few more videos coming out soon, so stay tuned. As always, peace.